This week on the podcast, there ain't no party like an S-Club party, and we give you 4 signs that you have a profitable business model. Welcome to the Profit Cash Growth Podcast. This is the podcast for 6- and 7-figure business owners who are looking to grow a financially successful business. My co-host, Claire Hancock, is a finance director, chartered accountant, and entrepreneur. And every week, I'll be exploring guidance and frameworks designed to help you increase your profits, improve your cash flow, and grow your business. Claire, this week I've been watching S Club 7.
Yeah, they've had a little bit of a comeback.
They're on Glastonbury, weren't they?
But I mean, we are going back to the 90s. We've got a Labour government, haven't we? Lots of things are going back to the better day.
Back. It was embarrassing to watch them, though, I've got to be honest.
I loved
These
it.
people in their 40s and 50s just dancing around
50s?
the stage.
They're not in their 50s.
42. I'll talk about the guy, Lee, 42. I don't know, it's such a childish song, though, isn't it?
Yeah, look, the music wasn't the best, was it?
It was terrible. And watching these people of this age perform that now is just heartbreaking for me to watch them. It's so embarrassing.
I think it's a bit of fun. I think it's very nostalgic for people like me. And do you know what I find the most fascinating when I see things like this from, like our childhood, is the fact that I could watch S Club 7 at Glastonbury and I could recall every single lyric despite probably not hearing that song for 15, 20 years. And I just think the human brain and the way it can remember song lyrics is
I said, why would
amazing.
They embarrass themselves to do that? And you said, they run out of money. It's the same thing as always. So they do a comeback, they need some money. But actually, Lee, one of the guys from S Club 7, was covered in the Sunday Times last week in the Fame and Fortune section. And actually, he's what he describes himself as very fairly well off. And that's because apparently his dad, when he was in S Club 7, forced him to just buy 4 flats 20 years ago rather than spend all of his S Club 7 money. And he's still got those 4 flats today, and they form the baseline of his income. So it allows him to do what he wants to do around that.
But he did also say that he tops up his income with other gig-related things.
Absolutely.
Doing something like Glastonbury keeps him relevant, keeps him on the front pages or the back pages, if you like, of
and
papers.
He's acting in the West End as well, and things like that. So he's got jobs. But, what a story there. He had a bit of a windfall. He knew it was a one-off. He probably didn't, but his dad did. And he forced it in some assets and just good decisions.
Glastonbury is iconic. I think if anybody turns down Glastonbury, they're a bit mental. So I think no matter how crap you think their music was, I don't blame them for getting up on that stage, no matter how old they are, no matter how out of tune their singing was and how bad the songs were. I think everybody would do it.
Leave it in the 90s is what I say. Just leave it in the 90s. Well, anyway, I'm going to, from that shock to an even more shock, I'm going to talk about this week's news story of the week. So this week, Claire, this is an absolute shocker. I just found it unbelievable. Poor old James from Market Harbour, a 65-year-old business owner, has been saving in a self-invested pension scheme for most of his life, saved up just over £1 million. And just at the point where that pension scheme cashed out, Barclays posted in cheque form his pension to him, which got intercepted by scammers, paid out and moved out the country in less than 24 hours, and he's lost all of his pension.
Yeah, so it turns out that he wanted to move his pension at the age where he was going to start drawing down on it. He wanted to move his pension from Lloyd's to this company called Transact Limited. And in order to do that, he had to sign the cheque and also get Barclays to countersign a cheque. So he signed the cheque and sent it to Barclays to be countersigned, who then sent it on to Transact Limited. Yeah. And when that cheque that had both signatures was sent on, I think, to be fair, Barclays did send it recorded delivery. Yeah. But somehow it was still intercepted by scammers who had created a limited company with a very similar name, Transact Something Limited, and they were able to cash that cheque and move that money out of the country. Yeah, they cashed it into a TSB bank, moved it out of the country instantly. So far, he's been pursuing this for quite some time. He's spent over £30,000 in legal fees to pursue this. Nobody's taken responsibility for this. And so far, he's managed to only reclaim, I think, £220,000 of it from TSB. I mean, it just must be heartbreaking. That must be to work your entire life as a business owner, take all the risks and all the hard work that you've done to save that up, to then have that happen at no fault of your own. And what's more shocking is he specifically asked Barclays that he wanted the money transferred electronically, and they refused, didn't they? Well, that is what he has claimed in the paper, although the Times have said that they weren't able to verify that. But I think for me, there's just maybe the bit of the pie that is missing is how did these fraudsters know and find this check in the post?
Yeah.
They already had this fake limited company. Well, they just happened to intercept a check for Transact. Maybe they were stealing the post from Transact or something like that. Because he did say that Transact had these warnings on their website that there was, this issue with checks and that they were being intercepted. So I very much expect that that he was unlucky and that the fraudsters were probably trying to intercept Transact's post and he fell victim to it. But it just goes to show that, we old school people will, and I think actually most of us would imagine that if you get something in the post with a signature on, it's a bit more secure than email and things like that these days. But, it just goes to show you can't even trust the post anymore. The fraudsters literally are everywhere.
This is one of the criticisms, though, isn't it? That Barclays actually use Royal Mail rather than a one-off courier, a proper motorbike courier that could have, A to B tracked, and as it needed to be, they put it through the main Royal Mail post.
Why did it need to go in the post at all and not be a digital transaction?
I don't know.
I think that's the main thing,
question,
isn't it?
Yeah. Indeed. Anyway, absolutely shocking one, and couldn't wish that on anybody really. But it just caught my eye this week, and I just wanted to share it. Anyway, let's move on to this week's deep dive. So, Claire, this week we're talking about how do you know if you're running a profitable business model? And you've got 4 hacks here, haven't you? And this came out recently. You were chatting to somebody, and this came about, didn't it?
Yeah, there was a well-known entrepreneur was talking on their social media platforms about, all you need to do. They made it sound so simple. They said, all you need to do is find a profitable business model and scale that. And a few people were a little bit scathing in the comments and said, well, what does a profitable business model look like? It's all very well you saying, examples of these well-known brands that have got a profitable business model. But if you are not, running a watch business, or you're not a well-known holiday or cash and carry firm or something like that, then how do you know if your business model is profitable? And so I thought that I would answer that question and give you 4 sure signs that you do have a profitable business model.
Because I guess the question for most people is you don't know that until it's ultimately usually too late.
Too late, yeah.
5-10 years down the line that you think, what should I have done? So this is going to be absolutely fantastic for people that, are relatively new or, that are just looking at what that looks like, because you're going to tell them exactly what signs they should be seeing.
Yeah, but also if you have a business model that isn't making perhaps as much profit as you'd like it to, it's having an idea where you can focus and make some tweaks to make it that little bit more profitable. So yeah, whether you have a fairly new business that you're wanting to scale, or whether you've scaled and it's not quite turned out how you hoped it would. But it's very easy to start a business and make good money when it's just you. Don't get me wrong, it's hard. It's bloody hard. But
I was just about to say, it's not that. I bet a lot of people would say it's not that easy. In some ways, I think it's the hardest part of the journey when it's just you. I certainly found that in my business career.
I think it's the emotionally hardest part of it. You need a lot of grit. You have to work really, really hard, and it's a lot of hustle. But
it's the most profitable from a margin perspective.
Yes.
If that's what you mean.
It's the most profitable because all the money goes into your pocket mostly.
You're the only one doing the work. So, yeah.
And it can be quite easy to think, I'm making, actually you can make 6 figures a year just working for yourself. And it's quite easy to think, let's scale this up and make multi 6 figures a year. And often it doesn't work out that way.
No, often the more you scale, the
smaller
smaller your
make.
profits go. And just speak to Tesco about that.
Yeah, exactly.
So come on then, let's start off with number 1, Claire. What have you got? What's the first sign that we should be looking for?
So the first sign that you should be looking for is that you have enough profit in your business. You've got enough fat there to employ a manager or some sort of admin support for every 4 or 5 members of staff that you've got. And I think this is probably the area that I see so many people fall down when they're at that early stage thinking about growing is they do the business plan. If you take, I don't know, like a home maintenance company as a classic example of this, even estate agency, Simon, you take your estate agency model and you think, I'm going to bolt on all these areas and I'm going to put like an estate agent, if you like, in each area, and each estate agent's going to generate me 50k profit because that's what I'm doing at the moment. But the reality is that by the time you've got 4 or 5 estate agent areas working, then you need somebody coordinating, managing, coaching, tracking, making sure that everybody's on top of their workload, and it requires a manager. And often people are not allowing for that and assuming that for every 4 or 5 money-making members of staff, you need one overhead that's going to coordinate and manage.
Plus, if you're a bricks and mortar business, it's probably another branch. It's probably another building and various other things. So every 5 people, needs a branch manager, and that maybe that's a whole new branch with a whole new set of costs as well. So you need to factor in that as well into your profits as you scale.
And I think I see this a lot when you're thinking about tradespeople in particular. And, that scaling up, that sort of like, oh, I can put a person in a van with some equipment and they can do X amount of jobs a day. But when they're doing those jobs, they're not going to work the hours that you work, answering the telephone, thinking about where you're going, dealing with all the customer inquiries. They're literally going to be going out and doing the trades work. So who is going to be doing the quoting, the coordination, the planning, the scheduling, the pricing?
Yeah.
And that's where you've got to make sure you've got enough fat in your business model to be able to have that layer of management and coordination.
Amazing. So number 2?
Repeatability.
Yeah.
And I think it's very easy when you get started and you're in that sort of hustle mode and you think you'll literally just take any work that comes your way. And that's really good when you start, because you learn what's easy, what's difficult, what makes the most money. But at some point, you've got to stop that and you've got to settle on a product that can be sold repeatedly.
Yeah.
Because every time you create a product from scratch and quote something to your customer that's entirely bespoke, it comes with so much risk. And the 2 biggest risks are that, 1, you mess up your quoting and potentially you could underquote. 2, you're overquoting. It's the same, maybe you're overquoting and you're losing loads of work because your pricing is too high. Yeah. So it becomes really difficult to quote bespoke jobs and really have some certainty on how much money you're going to make from them. But also, if every job you're doing is completely bespoke, the chances of you fucking up are so much higher as well. And, your customer being annoyed with you is, the worst case scenario, but potentially that could cost you money putting things right and paying compensation and, dealing with bad reputation because of it and things like that. So the most profitable business models have something that is repeatable. So you build up this knowledge, this experience, this learning with this product, and it becomes very easy for you to replicate and sell to multiple people. So product or a service, whatever it is that you've got.
I'm a massive believer in this, and it's quite hard psychologically for business owners to get their head around this, because the fear, if you're the the salesperson, the front person, is that you're losing that dynamicness from your ability to work with customers. So therefore you feel like you're not offering the customer what they want, therefore you're not going to acquire the customer, and that panic sets in, versus systemizing and getting everything repeatable and knowing that might cost you a few customers that you don't win, that might cost you a bit of margin, but the scalability of what you're building as you're doing it's what I call the spinning plates method. It's getting that plate spinning before you then go and focus on something else to get that next plate spinning and then move on to the next one. And it's so important that plate doesn't drop, and the only way that doesn't drop is by making sure the model is right.
Yeah. And the power of learning in it is incredible, isn't it? Like, whenever you learn anything, if you're going to cook a 3-course meal and you want to be a chef, the first time you cook that meal, it's probably going to take you like 5 hours from start to scratch. And then eventually you're going to be doing it like with your eyes shut, and it's going to come second nature to you. Yeah. And you're going to become such an expert at delivering that the standard goes up. You can charge more because of it. You get better reputation, you get better reviews, you get more repeat spending. Yep. So there's so much value in having repeatability in your products and services and not continually doing something bespoke.
Yeah, they often call this 10,000 hours of practice, don't they?
Yes.
You need 10,000 hours of practice before you absolutely master something. So actually, someone that goes out and provides quotes for a customer and does that 10,000 hours is probably going to be exceptionally good at sharpening their saw at winning business. And that's the key to it. Great. So number 3, Claire, what are we got?
So number 3, you want your break even point. So that's where all of your overheads are paid for every month. You want your break even to be covered by ideally recurring revenue, but that's not always possible with certain business models. So then the second best thing to that would be recurring customers.
Okay. So people that come and spend with you time and time again, if they're not directly repeatable. Yeah.
So ideally, you want people tied in to some sort of monthly contract with you. Sky TV is a classic, isn't it? Once you've got Sky TV, you're not going to all of a sudden switch the following month. It's going to be quite unlikely.
To try and give a really, really live example of this, something like Costco, where all their overheads are probably covered by their membership that people pay on a monthly basis forever. And then the profit they make on the sales of the goods is all of their bonus in their profit.
Yeah, so that's a really great example, actually, because the one that I would suggest about recurring customers, if you can't get people onto subscriptions, supermarkets is, closely linked to like Costco, for example, where, Tesco's will have all of the data that they need that tells them how likely a customer is to go in and buy from Tesco's every week and therefore become a recurring customer. So they can rely on that data.
Just from loyalty rather than
loyalty.
being tied into a membership. Yeah, so the two different things. You've got one that's tied into a membership or a fee that's coming every month. You've got another one, which is the likelihood of that customer coming in every week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, my business model, for example, the accountancy firm, is like, I don't take customers that just want year-end accounts, because it's absolutely no use to my business model if these customers spend with me once every 12 months. That's not what I want. So I want customers that want to work with me on a monthly basis, which is why we focus on the management accounts, the FD services, because people need monthly work. So it's,
for example, just to pick something out of the hat, if I sold caravans, how would you structure my business model so that I've got that recurring income?
Put me on the spot here.
I've got an idea, but so I'll help you out if you don't.
Well,
it's about creativity, isn't it?
Yes, it is about
trying to make you be creative.
Being creative, isn't it? So maybe if I was a caravan business and I was selling caravans, then I would definitely have some sort of monthly magazine to advertise my products.
Nice.
Inspire people.
Nice.
I'd probably have a membership where you can get access to maybe parking. So, I'm really going off on the cuff here because I've never been in a caravan in my life. But I'm thinking, if I was to buy a caravan, what would I need in it? Maybe I'd need kits. So if I wanted to go away for a weekend, I could order from your website a kit that just gets delivered to my door and is all my basics. A little bit like ordering from HelloFresh.
Yep.
Imagine like your HelloFresh for your camping weekend, that type of thing.
Okay. So I like your thinking, because it's exactly what I was thinking. I went a little bit more down the line with where you buy the caravan and then there's an annual maintenance agreement. Like the simple, like I'm going to launch a magazine and become a publisher. But I like what you're doing there. But that is the point, isn't it?
Yes. And I think that's the point, is like, I've now become the HelloFresh subscriber for caravanners, and all of a sudden we've got a parking membership, so you can go and park on any campsite in the UK or around Europe or something, and we've also got maintenance subscriptions, and we're just a caravan business. So I think that is what this comes down to, is if you think you're a business that can't sell a caravan more than once every 5 years to somebody, you can still get recurring revenue by just thinking outside the box a little bit.
And this is more important than ever, isn't it? If you are a large ticket item sales business where somebody probably only buys from you once in a lifetime, you do need to sit down and think harder about how can I create something. And you don't have to. Yeah, the holy grail is cover all your costs. But do you know what? If you cover 50% of your costs with some recurring income, you're de-risking your business, aren't you?
Yeah,
and you're putting more value into your business as well. So great.
And why this is incredibly... Oh, I've completely forgotten what I was going to say there. Let's just move on.
Let's just move on to number 4. So number 4, Claire, what have you got for number 4?
And the final one, and this is probably the one that I would say most business owners are quite guilty of this, and I see this so many times when people are talking to me. A lot of the customers that I work with either want to sell their business or want to buy a business, and so this becomes incredibly important. And that's, as a managing director in your business, no matter what size your business is, you need to be paid a market rate for the value that you have in your business as the person that works in your business on a day-to-day basis. Plus, you need to be paid a dividend in return for being a shareholder in a business. And you need to be looking at you being a shareholder in your business completely separate from the fact that you work in it. You need to be looking at yourself as a shareholder like you're a shareholder of Tesco's or Next or Google, any of the big companies out there that you can go and buy shares in. You need to treat yourself like that. So you need to be paid a fair salary plus a shareholder return.
So why shouldn't I have the attitude that, okay, well, I'm supporting the business at the moment by running it, knowing that in 5 years or 10 years when I sell my business, that's when I will get paid?
Because the reality is that if you're looking at it right now, you're like, oh, it's fine, I earn good money, I'm running my own business. Fine, but that's a lifestyle business. And therefore I would say, why on earth grow your business? Just keep your happy lifestyle without all the hassle, because the more you grow your business, actually, it becomes much more difficult for you to make money. It makes your life more of a headache and it makes everything more complicated. And the reality is when you come to sell your business, most of the people that buy businesses, there are some people that will buy a job, and really they're quite inexperienced people that will probably be buying businesses of a few $100,000 turnover. So they're not what I would say are serious business investors. They're people that like the idea of running their own business and decide to buy one and don't really have a clue what they're doing, versus people that are buying businesses, as this is their job. They invest and they buy businesses and they grow them. That's the type of person that is most likely to be buying a business of maybe £1 million plus. And they will not expect to come and work in your business. So they don't want to just come and replace you as the managing director. They need a managing director in that business on probably a 6-figure salary. And then they want to get paid for being an investor in your business. So if you want to sell your business, that's what you've got to demonstrate, is that the business can afford to pay the salary of a managing director and pay a shareholder a return, because that's exactly what an investor or somebody buying your business is going to demand. So you can't just say to them, oh, yeah, don't worry, when I've gone, it'll all work out. They want to see the evidence that your business can afford it.
Amazing. So there we have it. 4 key tips. Have you got a profitable business? Is your model profitable? Please drop us a line, marketing@profitcashgrowth.com, if you meet all of those 4 criteria, or if you think there's other criteria that we've missed out that we really should be bleating about. And we'd love to talk about it in a bit more detail. But I think, great 4 tips to follow.
I think one of the comments we might get the most is about, well, Claire, you didn't mention cash flow, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, I'm talking just about a profitable business model. I think saying whether your business model is going to be successful from a cash flow perspective or not is a different topic for a different day. This is just about whether you've got
just the key signals.
One,
sort of high level signals. Great. Well, let's move on to this week's Profit Cash Growth Extra.
So this week's Profit Cash Growth Extra is all about using the data and apps that are available from your website. So we have our website with Wix, a Profit Cash Growth website, and with Wix we get something called Twipler. And this is something that Simon and I do weekly, actually, as we look over our website stats. So we know how many people are coming on our website, what pages they're looking at, what buttons they're clicking on,
where they've come from.
So the source, whether it's, LinkedIn and Google are our top sources that we get people from. So it's fantastic from understanding more about your customers. And one of the key things that I really like about Twipler, and there are also some bigger brands out there called Lead Forensics and people like that, but they can actually tell you if the IP address that's on your website, they can tell you if it's a business and they can tell you the business name. So if you're a B2B business, then this can be really powerful, because if you know that, I don't know, somebody from XYZ Limited has visited your website, then you can contact them because they're a fairly warm lead, the fact that they've been on your website.
That's
so
really good.
That's available in Twipler, but it's also Lead Forensics is a really great one. But the thing that we do every week, Simon, which I find incredibly powerful, is we will sit and we will watch the recordings and the heat maps of what people are doing on our website.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Now with the level of data you can physically watch somebody, how they're interacting, what they're using on the website, so you can work out what areas are doing really well, what are not doing so well, and are they on the journey you hoped they would be on when you built the website. I think it's phenomenal.
And why this is so powerful is because we can see, we've got things on our website that when we put them on there, we thought would be the highlights, we thought would be where people would focus most, and they're not.
And they're just not.
So then we need to think about, okay, is it the copy? Do we need to change how we're wording things? Do we need to make it easier for people to navigate? Or is it just simply that people don't give a damn about that and we need to remove it from our website? So from that perspective, it's really helping to make the website higher converting and make it more valuable from the business. So we get that for free with Twipler. There is a free version that Microsoft do called Microsoft Clarity, and you can put your website address in there. It's really, really easy to set up, actually. You can link it to any website whatsoever, and you don't need to be like a coding or web developer or anything like that to be able to do it. It really is quite user friendly. So I'd highly recommend this. If you've got a website and you're curious about what people are doing on your website, then absolutely. We've got Twipler. Microsoft Clarity is a free version, and there are other examples out there. But using that data, the heat maps, looking at the recordings of what people are doing on your website is like gold dust from a data perspective.
Awesome. Thanks, Claire. And thanks, everybody, for joining us for another week's podcast for the Profit Cash Growth podcast. As always, you can find Claire and her team at profitcashgrowth.com. Check out the YouTube channel, Instagram, Facebook, and all the socials. And as always, please rate, review, and subscribe us wherever you found us, because it helps other people find us too.